What's going on, guys? It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis. It is Saturday, November the 2nd, and it's 10:26 a.m. in the morning. So I'm going to drop this analysis here for you guys on the weekend. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful, wonderful weekend. The winter is just around the corner. We just passed Halloween. And I want to address a couple things before we dive into my analysis. I'm sorry for not responding and getting back to all the comments and all the questions. I was out of town this week. I got a chance to go to see Niagara Falls. Not sure who actually went to Niagara Falls, but I went before, like 10 years ago, but I went again this time, and it was like seeing it for the first time. Honestly, if I had to describe it for those of you that have never been to the Niagara Falls, and that's in Canada, by the way, when you get up and close, like on a boat, it truly does feel like you're seeing a scene from like Jurassic Park or Jurassic Park World, some of the newer ones. Like it's so surreal. Can't recommend it enough. It was super duper fun, but it was also why I was so busy and so tired, and also why you just haven't really seen me around last week with both tweets and as well as information. But now that I got that out of the way, I hope I answered why I haven't gotten back to the comments and questions. I do want to quickly address, like, it's been a challenge. I've been failing. I haven't been able to get back to everybody and respond to everybody. So I'm just going to leave it at this, that until further notice, I'm not going to be able to respond to all the comments and sections, but I will commit to reading all of them. So please, if you do have some nice comments or questions you want to read, and if I can see a question that I can answer, I will try and get to it, but my time is limited. It's why you get only one of these once per week. And don't take it personal. I'm not intentionally ignoring you. I just got my personal life and it's just getting busy. Having said that, now that we got that out of the way, again, I do appreciate everybody that comes in and joins and watches my videos and gives me the thumbs up. So you are appreciated, especially those that are actually dropping the comments. Very much appreciated. We're going to rewind a little bit. Going into last week, we were 6 for 8. I thought it was 5 for 7, but we were actually 6 for 8. I had to rewatch my last week's video to figure where I was. I was losing track. And with the way last week played out, or I guess this week played out, we are now 7 for 9. We pretty much nailed the analysis right down to a T. I don't think there's anybody that's nailed it as hard as I did. And I don't want to give myself too much of a big pat on the back. I want to stay humble, but at the same time, I did get a lot of flack for just kind of, not calling for a moonshot, and that's just, I'm going to tell you, and I've said it before, I'm not here to pump the stock. I'm here to drop my analysis as to where I see it going. And to do that, you're going to have to be able to flip from bullish to bearish and actually just call what you see from a technical perspective. So if you're looking for a cheerleader and someone to pump the stock up, I get that. But you guys got to be careful with the pumpers. They're going to crush your expectations. Week in, week out, if you want to follow the pumpers, there's tons of them out there that are going to tell you NIO's going to go to the moon. When it doesn't go to the moon, what's going to happen? You're going to be pissed off. You're going to feel it in your gut. You're going to feel it in your stomach and your heart. You're not going to feel good. It's a lot better knowing and managing your expectations and knowing what to expect, especially if you're a long-term holder. Last thing you want to do is have somebody playing with your feelings and tugging on your emotions, saying this thing's going to go to the moon. Nothing feels worse than someone says this thing's going to melt up and it doesn't do that. And we all know the people that were actually doing that. You guys know who's been doing that. And that's not me who's been doing that for the last few weeks. And I've been trying to call it out to the best of my ability. So going into next week, if we get next week right, it's going to be 8 to 10. That's definitely where we're going to aim to go. I think that's a phenomenal track record week over week. Once again, please do your own due diligence. Please do your own research. Even if you respect my analysis and my TA, even take what I say with a grain of salt. I could be wrong. I have been wrong. I don't have a 100% track record, and I could be wrong next week. So please consult a professional if you're making a big financial decision. This is just something that I enjoy doing on the side. Just a guy who loves dropping my analysis on NIO. And before we dive right in here, and I promise we're gonna get right in there. If we have time later today, which I think we will, we're gonna dive into BABA a little bit. We're gonna look into the Hang Seng. We're gonna look into the Dixie. We're gonna look at those things at the end once we've dived into NIO. But let's dive in, because I know there's some people who only come here for just the price targets. So we're gonna get that out of the way. Price targets. People come here just for different reasons. Some people want the reason why. You're gonna have to stick around till the end. But if you're looking for price targets, I'm going to dive right into that, okay? So Notice how I've drawn out this little trend line to the bottom here. Part of my thesis is that the price will come down here, and part of that is the best time to long is on the bottom of the trend line. NIO is in a bigger time frame uptrend, and what that kind of looks like, it looks like this if you use a parallel channel. And so as far as price targets go, this is, and you probably see me tweet about this before, but this is where I'm getting like just under 4. You see that? Just under 4. It's a little line. You can see it's like 380, 390 as time goes on. On earnings, if it doesn't get there till earnings, it's actually 417. So let's just say this price action stretches out. You could see only 417 actually there. Now that doesn't mean for sure this thing's gonna be like the absolute support, but until I see higher upside, I'm still convinced that this thing's actually gonna hold. And you'll get the buyers stepping in, and you'll probably have people crying about it. I mean, like the fact that I called under 4 and people are like, man, NIO's going to be like totally cooked if it goes to 4. I disagree with that completely. Technicals say that's where the buyers should be coming in. That's the best time to get long. It's on the bottom of a trend line. You want to know why it's the best time to get long? If it bounces here and you go long, as time goes, this thing is going to be rising higher and higher. So your position will go green regardless. And if it doesn't go green, and let's just say it breaks down, you'll have an opportunity for the retest where your position should go green at some point in time, and then you can reposition before it kind of, if it does make a leg lower. That's why the bottom of a trend line in an uptrend becomes the best possible time to get long. You're positioned in the best possible way. So there's my price target, longer term price target. I don't think it's going to happen yet. And you're going to have to stick around to see that. And to calm people's nerves, and I know people are like, that freaks people out when I say $3.80, $4. I mean, it was just there back in August and basically beginning of September, which is not long ago, guys. I still see like, $8.40 and like $10, like $8.50, $10. I see that range kind of coming back up there and testing. Fibonacci says that we are going to see that, and you can even just draw that line. It broke out. It's giving you that pullback now, right? So that's just how it's working out so far. So there's your price targets. And for those of you that don't want to stick around and you just came for the price targets, there you go. There you have it. You can check yourself out, please. My videos can get long when I actually explain. It's not easy. You should try and do it yourself. It's not easy to explain and do the analysis in a short time frame, especially when you're talking about multiple tickers and doing a broad analysis and you're just trying to share your thoughts. It's actually quite hard. And just doing these videos takes a lot of time. And so please check yourself out. If you don't like the long videos, you can check yourself out. But from here on out, we're going to dive into the reason and my thesis why. So if you're looking for a reason as to why is Laser thinking that the price is going to go lower, let's dive into the velocity. Okay, so this is right down below here is my indicator that measures the speed at which it moved in. And we can actually see here that it broke momentum. Now, we would have wanted it to bounce right around here. You would have wanted to see that bounce happen, but it didn't. It continued to break down, which confirmed that the momentum shifted to the bears. And oftentimes when you get a break, you get the retest, which is what I warned about last week. You got to be careful for the retests. And what it's setting up for is that lower high, lower low, lower high, always lower low. That's downtrend, right? And then vice versa, higher lows, higher highs, right? This is important to define. Higher lows, a higher high, and you can see when it changed. It changed basically when it didn't actually make a higher low here, guys. That's when it fundamentally changed, and it changed even more when it broke the velocity. So that's on a 24-hour time frame. Okay, let's erase these. I don't like when it gets messy, so we're going to erase all that, and we're going to look at different time frames. Do you guys understand that so far? Hope you guys are following me. So 12 hours. We're still below the 200-day moving average. The yellow line here is the 200-day moving average. Jeez, my nose is starting to run. Do I have Kleenex here? I have some Kleenex. I'll try to get through this. But if you hear a couple sniffles, I apologize. It's just allergies in the morning. Okay. So I talked about looking to the left to get a better understanding as to where NIO is going to go. On the 12-hour time frame, take a peek. So we're below the 200-day moving average, and you can just kind of draw left, like when it's broken under where we are. To the left, right? To the left. I can keep going to the left, but as you could see, okay, we have this structure. We have this structure. We have this structure. In each of the three structures, just from a velocity standpoint, if we're just looking left, we had the baseline out, rip, and go lower. You know, baseline out. I guess you can call that a rip from 470 up to 650 and back lower, right? Baseline out. And then I wouldn't, that's kind of like a baby rip, but still lower. The point is it's going lower. That's the key trend. Now, you could argue that this was it, but this was like a blip. Like 1, 2, 3. Notice how all of these runs, you had like a multi-day, multi-week run. How many days was this one? This took almost nearly a month. How long did this take to play out? This took like 19 days. I mean, you can stretch it out in arguably 30 days. How long did this take to play out before it broke out? Like 20, 30 days? How long has it been? Like, it's been like nothing. 7 days. It's been 13 days. And so that is why I believe what's going to happen is we're going to bottom out right around this $5 range. And we're going to get another rally. And it'll be a short rally before it brings lower. So I think it's building momentum. And we'll go into the smaller time frames to actually where it'll support that from a velocity standpoint. And I think you're going to get something along those lines. Now, it may not necessarily happen like that. And there's an invalidation level that you're going to want to watch. And I'm going to talk about that as well. But that is where I see it going. It's going to bottom out. It's going to round out. I think it's rounding out. This to me wasn't rounded out yet. It's starting to get going. I think it's, as you can see here, we had a couple of like ups. Like that was a pretty big move from 7 up to 860 back down. It's rounding out before it makes its big rally. And I think that's kind of what it wants to do here. It's rounding out. You're going to get a little bit of a lift. And then we're going to get that next leg lower. And I'm in that camp here, guys. Just, you can see, you can look left here. Again, we're going to clear this up from all these brushes. I hate a messy chart. I hate a messy chart. All right, let's go into the 4 hours, okay? I really like this chart because this chart actually is interesting because on the 4 hour time frame, now you can kind of see we're getting like in different time zones. We're looking at things a little bit more closer range. And you could see, I wish I kept where but I'll circle where it was. It was right here, it was right here, and it's right here. And you can see right before it was ready to rally, we got the break of the 200-day moving average. The break of the 200-day moving average, and this was, I mean, this was something else actually. But yeah, the break of the 200-day moving average. This was a massive buildup. And I think we're doing something similar here now so far. All signs point to a mini rally that's going to be coming. There's going to be money to be made on the upside. Now, how high? So here's another thing you're going to look into. This looks pretty good so far. Just bear in mind here. It could just go up and like, it could just do that too. It could do that. And that's why, despite having the option to make money on the upside, it's not a guarantee. And it's not like you're not positioned in it's not the best possible position to be long. But you got to take risks if you're looking to make money. There's times where you want to take risks, but going all in or spending all your ammo here, I'm not, like, if there's a chance of it going lower, you definitely want to have some spare. I'd consider having some dry powder for when and if it does come lower. Now, as you can see here, I'm gonna erase that. This is the broader and bigger picture uptrend. But if I were to go into the 1 hour time frame, this is the downtrend it's in. All right. Let's quickly talk about invalidation real quick here. If I'm wrong, and you're like, hey, Laser, how will you know like if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? And it just the bottom's in. Why? I could be wrong. Like there could be something. I can't tell you what the future is. I can't tell you what catalysts are coming up. I can't tell you if NIO does something amazing that justifies the price to absolutely rip. If I'm wrong, it's going to break above here. You see this? I've talked about this. You guys know what I'm talking about. That's your safe entry. If you get that rip up here, that's where the volume will go crazy. That's where shorts are probably going to close. That's where things are going to get explosive above here. And I can't stress enough, it has to get above there. Because if all it does is it goes up here, that's every more reason for shorts to slam it down even lower and further. Just like how the bottom of a trend line is a beautiful spot to get long, the top of a trend line is a beautiful spot to go short. And if you invert that, that's because if you were to short here, in theory, and it doesn't break, you're going to go green no matter what. And if you messed up and it broke, you're going to get that retest, and your position should slightly go green, and you can exit actually. And that's why it's going to attract a lot of shorts there. So I'm going to flip that back. It's getting messy again. If it looks messy to me, it probably looks messy to you. I don't like a messy chart. So there is the potential here of seeing this rounding out formation and then coming down here. Okay. What is that? 615. I mean, if it gets up there early, you could actually, I mean, let's just say next week. Let's just say next week we rip. You can see 670 and 660, and then you can see the shorts slam this thing down. If it doesn't break it, it ain't game time, man. And you got to wait for those candle closes. You can actually get it like coming up and failing and doing that. You can't, like, you got to wait for it to break and retest and give you the retest. And that's where it can get really tricky. Okay. There's fake outs. You got to look out for fake outs. Now, based off what I'm seeing here, it seems like this 620, 630 zone seems like it's probably going to come back up there, I think. It's going to build out this base. And we're going to get back up into 630, maybe 640. And I think it'll reject. I'm in that camp. I think that's where you got to be careful again. Is there money to be made there? Absolutely. If you want to, but you got to be in a position and ready to sell. Hit the sell button. Most people who buy here think they're buying the bottom and think this thing is going to 10 or like 8 or 11. And like if this thing goes to 8, that's a 60. If it's going to 11, that's 100. But like those are massive gains. But if this thing goes to if this thing goes down to the bottom, you're out 40, you're out 20%. So you got to know the risks. Know the risks. It's not a guarantee, man. Anybody who says anything otherwise, there's nothing's 100%. You got to know both sides of the equation. And so that's what I see. And there's other confluences across the broad market that support this thesis. Now, if I were to dive in a little bit deeper here, just on the 2 hours, 2 hours actually is breaking below the 200-day moving average, but it's actually still making a higher low relative to that. So it's actually, it's looking okay. So I'm calling for like that $5 zone holding, and it's basing out, and it'll build up towards another run into 6. And I think it's going to confuse the shit out of a lot of people. A lot of people are going to call for the bottom. A lot of people are going to say it's it, but it ain't it. In my opinion, you ain't getting it until it's here. So here's one more thing that I'm going to share with you. It's going to be damning. That's going to support my thesis. So this is going to be super damning here, okay? I don't like the mess. I don't like the mess. Guys, I'm going to delete these, okay? I'll delete that too. I like it clean. This is the most damning thing that you're going to see here, okay? There we go. That was a lower low, okay? Notice this. This was a lower low. We're looking at the 200-day moving average. We're not looking at the velocity. It's a 200-day moving average. Okay. Notice how when I made a lower low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Okay. And I'm going to draw this out here. This is the damning evidence here that something is structurally off. You see how I'm putting my line up there? You see how it's different? And if you those of you that can't see it, I'll actually draw a line for those of you that can't see it. And I can draw this line on all of them. And you can see it's hit a higher high, higher low on all of them, right? Up until here, it's different. We got a lower low here. This is what you would, this is not a higher low. This is a lower low. Structurally, something's different. And I should actually erase this because this isn't a higher low. This was actually a lower low. And you can see from when it makes a lower low, oh, sorry, when it makes a lower low, the type of price action that you're going to get. Yeah, there's going to be upside. Right? Let's just clear that out. Look. See that? It's something is structurally different from a velocity standpoint of view. And that's just another, like, I mean, it's just a bias. It's something, it's a bias analysis that I see that supports my thesis as to why I see NIO going down lower. Now I have confluences. We're going to look at the broad market. We're not even going to dive too much deeper here. I do think before I'll dive back in and I'll sum up where I see NIO going, but I want to actually support my thesis by looking into BABA. Okay. BABA, and we're going to turn this back on here, is making a lower low here on the velocity too. And you can see I've drawn this out a long time ago, and I've talked about this. It's literally the same chart as NIO. It's hilarious. It's like the exact same chart. You got that blip up, and it's kind of basing here. And if it does what I think it's probably going to do, if it's going to do what NIO does, it's going to round out. You can get that. I mean, I don't know. It might not even go that high. It might round up like here. Yeah, that like that. You could get something like that. I'm not here to drop an analysis on BABA, but like that's what I see playing out for BABA. This is confluence. This is me looking at like other stocks, seeing like, because typically when BABA goes up, NIO goes up, and when BABA goes down, NIO goes down, and part of that has to do with the Hang Seng Index, how it actually follows the Hang Seng Index. And you can actually see the Hang Seng's doing the exact same thing here, actually. So the 200-day moving average is a lower low here, actually. And when you get that lower low, you will get the rallies followed by the lower lows. So, you know, I wouldn't be shocked to see this base holding and then us coming down here and possibly riding out here before it kind of comes up. I would not be surprised to see something like that. I think that's what's happening here. It's going to really mess with people. I think people are going to be like, yep, Hang to the moon, BABA to the moon, NIO to the moon. Maybe it does, but I don't see it from a velocity standpoint of view. Dixie. Dive quickly into Dixie. Dixie's very interesting because to me, you can see I drew this line out here. It's kind of like losing this like rapid up structure, but it's above this trend line. So it's kind of, you can almost like draw this out like this little wedge. And I think what Dixie is still looking to do is ride up into that 105 and then reject. So it's still in play. And I've talked about this week over week. We do not want to see the Dixie go above 105, 106. That turns it into a long setup. Dixie being the long setup is the US dollar. Again, if you don't know what the Dixie is, that's the US dollar. And if the US dollar is rising, that's something's not right if the US dollar is rising. That means you shouldn't be having your money in equities isn't going to pay itself out. People are piling into the US dollars, and they typically do that in a risk-off environment. But it still has the setup. Now, here's one thing that's very interesting. Remember how we talked about lower lows, lower highs? You see that? A lower low. So if there's anything to take away from this, this could just be, this is still technically a short setup. Shorts are probably going to come right in here and it's going to slam it. It's going to get slammed right down. And we'll probably see 100 or below 100 and potentially even 96, actually. I think I'm in that camp here. Now, tying this all the way back into NIO, we're almost done our video. And if you've been watching this entire time, thank you so much for watching the whole way. But we want to wrap it up with a prediction here so that we can actually go for 8, 4, 10. I think what's happening into next week, if I were to predict the current price action, I would predict the price to round out right at that $5 mark. And towards the end of the week, you might start seeing it build back up. And I think I would likely expect there to be major resistance right at that $6 level. So you might get that double top right around here, right before it takes the next leg lower. And I think that's where you're going to see smart money come in. That's where you're going to see a lot of people take stabs at NIO. That's where people are going to start being more bullish because it just makes sense from a technical perspective to start getting long around here. And if this does break, by the way, down here, you still have also this, which it could do something like this, right? Is that an uptrend? I think it is. It's like a flat. It's like a legit double. Yeah, you could do something like that. Sorry. So it's important not to watch for fake outs. I think with NIO, they're going to do a fake outs in some way or fashion. I wouldn't be surprised I'm seeing taking it below and being like, oh my God, NIO's done. It's over. And then boom, ripping it back above. And then you get the squeeze. Would not be surprised. But I don't think we're just going to see any of that this week. Or sorry, next week. I think what we're going to see going into next week, a rounding out, and it's building. So this is it. And see, normally I think most people would see like, oh, it already did it. No, I don't count this as it. It's too fast. I don't like that it was like a blip. And I think we're going to see it's going to take longer for us to make that like blip. Just like it did here. Just like it did here. Just like it did. Where else did it? And it happened right here too, kind of moderately. So I think it'll take longer. You got to be patient. This thing might not get to, you might not see your $8.50 until sometime in 2025. I will say this, and I said this before in one of my older videos, that if it took almost a year to break out, how many bars? More than a year to break out of a downtrend, you can expect it would take more than a year before it gets to its peak. That's only fair. You can't just like inverted V reverse bound. Like if it's down that long, it's going to take that long to go back up. That's just how it works. So keep that in mind. Like this thing could take some time. You got to like taper your expectations. This was super duper exciting. And so was this rally, but you got to just kind of just look to the horizon. That's what I would do if I was a long-term investor. Don't stress yourself out over the day-to-day price action. That's my job, to kind of do my analysis and kind of keep you guys a little bit more on the same page as where I see things going. And I'll tell you, it comes with stress when you worry about the price action day to day. I will leave it with this. And I hate talking about fundamentals, but I still think NIO is absolutely a steal at these price ranges for an electric vehicle company. I think 5 years down the road, people are going to laugh at NIO being at 5. I can see people's thesis being 20, 30, 50. If it hits all-time highs, you're a millionaire, man. Like that's unheard of returns. Like if it's to make a comeback, like, and it does like the famous cup and handle, you could have something gigantic, but you gotta have a long-term vision to think that. Only those that have that philosophy of thinking long-term are gonna be in that position. If you can't think long-term, you're gonna get faked out from the algorithm. You're gonna get faked out from the market makers. These things are like designed to mess with you psychologically. So I will leave it at that. I think NIO's got a very promising future. And of course, with elections coming into next week, I think if Trump wins, that might be a very good thing for NIO, especially if they bring manufacturing into the USA. That could be extremely exciting. Exciting news for the Chinese EV market. But I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm not here to talk about fundamentals. I'm here to talk about TA, and that's it. So again, I'm rambling. So I gotta stop myself here. It's Saturday morning. I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend. Taper your expectations. Be good to other people. Have a wonderful weekend, and that's it. That's all I got. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I will try my best to reply to you, but I will most definitely be reading it. Cheers, and have a good day.